Hello, I'm Nan McKay. Welcome to Trailblazers Impact Podcast with inspiring stories of women who created new paths for other women to follow. Our website is trailblazersimpact.com and you can contact us at hello@trailblazersimpact.com. Welcome to Trailblazers Impact, a podcast series chronicling inspirational real life stories of women who grew up in the turbulent era of the 50s, 60s, and 70s to eventually power through the glass ceilings and who are now thinking about or currently transitioning to retirement. I'm Nan McKay, and I would like to introduce my guest today, Desiree Doubrox, founder and CEO of Homwork, a membership-based concept created for the busy woman professional, providing both living and workspace in one of their luxury homes around the world. An entrepreneur since the age of 12, Desiree's always been the founder, owner of her own businesses. She's founded businesses such as Marina Mermaid, A Models Media, Lookin Good Productions, and Empowered Woman. And today we're talking about her newest one, Homwork. I'm excited to have Desiree share her life story with you. Desiree, you've had a busy career and you've been involved with many businesses. What or who helped you set your path?
Well, thank you. When you read them like that, it makes me wonder what I've been doing all my life. But I think it's my mother. When I go back to my mother, she was uneducated as a child. She was self-taught. She didn't even go to school because they were squatters. And she taught herself the English language through the dictionary. She was one of those. And her first job was working as a photographer's assistant in a nightclub, but she was really too young to be there. Then eventually she started her own photography studio, and until they called Stork Studio, the first African American owned studio in Philadelphia. And then from there she got married and had children. And even as a child, when we wanted something special, we wanted to go to the modeling school or go to extra private school, we created little businesses, whether it was selling wigs door to door, or selling raffle tickets and offering the prizes. She taught me how if you wanted to do more, if you wanted more, you can have to do more. And if you select something that you like and enjoy, I've been blessed with the fact that everything I've done is something that came from my heart as my passion. So I've had that option. Then I enjoy it. I don't feel like work, and that's why I can put the energy into it, that I do because it's fun for me.
And you saw what she was doing.
Exactly. I saw it. And that made a difference because I saw that it made a difference between have and having not.
And you were able to take that education that she gave you and propel it into your own ability to do whatever you wanted to do. And you didn't have to have a job to do it.
You know how it started is when people say, what were you doing at 12? Well, at 12 years old, we used to go to dance lessons. That was an extra that we had earned money to go to dance lessons on Saturday. So there's a playground close to me that I asked them if I could teach dance lessons to younger children in the afternoon. So I would take my class in the morning, scurry over to the community center and teach it in the afternoon. Now, it really was a glorified babysitting service because the mothers dropped their kids off for so many hours and that was it. But then when we had our recital, then I had a recital for girls. And I remember my sister would be at the door collecting the ticket money. We charged them for their costumes. My brother would be in the back running the records. And we had so many people come that once we had the management come and they wanted to shut us down. And the mother said, no, because their child hasn't gone yet. But the reason was because we had exceeded occupancy. And so when the manager says to me, you exceeded occupancy, it's like, what is occupancy? I have no idea. He said, don't you see it on the door? I was like, no, I didn't notice that. So the good news was that the lesson learned from that experience was many times you don't have to have a lot of knowledge before you're able to teach somebody else that doesn't have that level of knowledge. There's always somebody else that wants to learn what you know. And I say that because sometimes people don't share their gifts because they're waiting for a certification, they're waiting for a certain point. That's all good, but you start with where you are. Then like my second business was, did you ever sell those, remember those world's famous chocolate bars that you had to sell in fundraisers at school?
Yeah.
The almonds and the chocolate, the almonds with maybe less and less almonds as the years go by.
I
Well,
think I bought many of my own
as most people do.
and ate them.
As most people do. But I had to figure out a way to finance me eating my own. So what I would do is I realized one day that there was 12 pieces to that chocolate bar. So I would go out on the playground at recess time and sell it for 10 cents a piece. So that way I made 20 cents per bar. And the kids bought it even though they had their backpacks full of the same thing, but they didn't have that dollar, but they had that 10 cents. So at the end of the campaign, I wound up making 20 cents a bar that I sold right there in the schoolyard, and I won the prize for selling the most chocolate bars.
Wow.
So,
and was that kind of a model that you've created in your businesses as you've gone forward?
Yes, the thing is, yes. I mean, when I think of what I'm doing now, it's a collection of all those different things. You know, when I was in college, I had Marina Mermaid, you know, where I was living in Marina Del Rey, and I would see that the men would leave in the weekend and they really didn't want to clean their boats. And it wasn't a big deal, but they just wanted to party and keep going. So I reached out to the other teeny women, girls on campus at USC and say, hey, you want a part-time job? You can do it with your schedule, any time in the schedule, as long as before the weekend. And we would charge $35. They would get 15, I would get 15, and $5 was allotted towards the supplies. They would come to my apartment. I had a little blue t-shirt called Marina Mermaid, and they would go in the boat, this blue bucket, and clean it and come back, and as we got paid, they got paid. And I would advertise in a local newspaper, the Argonaut. So it was more business than we can actually handle. But one day, one of the ladies were smoking on the boat, and one of the cushions caught on fire. And so consequently, we didn't have insurance. So the owner said, either you pay for it, which we did, reimburse and replace the cushion, but also said you need to get insurance, otherwise I'll report you. Well, at 18, 19 years old, when I looked into insurance, it really was prohibitive. It took away all our profit. So I always said, okay, one day I'm going to come back to that because it's still a needed service, and it's Marina Mermaid. It was great for college students, it was great for me, and it was great for our customers.
So tell me, now in this case, and really probably in the other one too, you saw a need, and do you think you have extra perception in that area where you're looking for needs, or do you feel like they kind of fall in your lap, or your antennas up, or what is it?
I think it's we all feel those needs. I'm sure everybody says, oh, I thought about that, I thought about doing that, but I act upon it. That's the difference. If I think about something, I do a little research, like what else is happening, and I don't let competition scare me off, because sometimes you can do something differently. You can find a niche market, find a different way of doing it. So, but this tells me what else models are out there, how they're charging, how their business is, and I do a little research, enough research to either validate or invalidate the process. And I move upon it, I do it. That's the difference. We all come across, I mean, everyone can say that I thought about this, when they see it, actually in fruition, they say, oh, I thought about that years ago, or they think about ideas they never move upon. And I just act upon it. Action is the secret to anything, as you know. It's the action.
So you developed the process, which was to do the research and to find out, are you the only one doing this, or are a lot of people doing it, what the price might be, etc., what the tasks might be that you need to be doing. But what was the next step you took?
After I did my research, I know the process would be much like doing a DBA or getting the name. Now it's the URL. Now it's getting a team deciding. I do like a mind dump, first of all, like all the things I think are going to be involved in it, and I can analyze it as many different ways as I can, as far as financially being able to see it's going to work or not work. I would love to say that I do business plans and everything. I do not. I should and I could, but I don't do full business plans, but I do numbers. If I back it in, like, what do I want from this? And some projects and some business you do, which is what I even asked you, sometimes you do things for a give back, sometimes you do it for financial, sometimes you do it because it's a lead gen for another business, sometimes it's just to be able to, for lifestyle. If I decided to do it, be a travel agent, it's because I want to be able to travel. So you find out what your why is for your business, and if it happens to be financial, then I back it in. I'll say, if I want to make $1 million from this business, how many $500 products or customers do I need? Okay, too many. How many $1,000 customers do I need? And now I'll do that. And then I'll say, okay, then what can I offer to substantiate this $1,000 or $2,000 or $10,000 process? And like, what is the going rate for that? And then even if the going rate was maybe 500, how can I enhance mine? to be able to justify and qualify for that amount. So I do the numbers that way, which again is not maybe necessarily the best way, but it's my way. And then I give myself a lot of fudge room. How much people do I need? Is going to be labor intensive. I don't want projects that are very labor intensive. I think we've been through that phase, and so I don't want things that are very uh, that require a lot of technology because I'm not a techie person. I like things. My personality is more of being with people, being involved with people, being hands-on with people. Just being, and I chose women because I feel it's a market that I knew what I needed as an entrepreneur growing up, and I knew what would have been helpful in my journey, what would have expedited my success. So I want something I work a lot? Do I want something I work in an office? Do I want something that keeps me out in the field? Kind of describe, really decide what that magic process would be for you, and then see how you can build that with what you're doing. And most of the time you can, because now there's so much leeway for anything, people can do that. So once I get through the idea and do my research, then I do my numbers, then I do like the components that are most important to me. Does it give me that freedom? Does it give me that flexibility? Does it give me the security that I need to do that? Or does it give me the visibility? And then I start narrowing it down. Then I give myself what do I need to do? I mentioned Trello, lists, checklists, what needs to be done, what needs to be done, what needs to be done. And then I give myself a launch date. I work best under pressure. Some people do. I got to have a date where I know I'll get it done. Because for the 99% of the time, if I have control over it, it'll get done by that date. So I say by this date. And then I just kind of back it into like what's the things that would take the longest to those first. And then how can I delegate? How can I automate? And then I kind of work it from there until I get to that point, the launch point. And I find that one of the things I've learned is that you can be flexible. Again, you're writing the script. That's the advantage of being an entrepreneur. You're setting the rules. So if I say I'm going to do it once a week, then I can do it once a week. But if I decide I want to do it for 10 weeks, so I can regroup after that point, then I set that up. If I say I want to do it every day, then that's my choice. If I say I want to do it whenever I feel like it, when I reach a great history or a person, whatever. But I know that there's three things that are important for success, and one is content, consistency, and that's how you build a community. Because you can't do it alone. If you're looking for a community to buy or to enroll in our process, and that's how we have to be able to do it.
So you had several businesses that
Mm-hmm.
you've developed, and I'm thinking, did this happen in a linear way or was it overlapping? In other words, were you doing one business and then you got the idea for another business, and would you have more than one going at a time?
What I would have one. Haven't had one going more than one going at a time. And how it happens is that, say for example, this last business, Homwork, I had Empower Women for 12 years, and it was really successful, and we had a lot of time. We were growing, but we had the market, and at that when that market hit, it was a time for me to reflect and review where we were, and where I wanted to be. And a lot of the ladies were not able to spend the money for their memberships and for their luxury trips and things that we had going. So I thought, okay, where do I go from here? And that was the time for me to reassess. And I advise everyone to do it, because sometimes you need to do that before you reach the burnout stage. And then when you're reaching that burnout stage. And that happens when you stop caring, or you stop getting excited, or it stops feeding you, whatever the feed is. Again, the feed could be monetary, could be social, could be intellectual, whatever it is that your why, we're not meeting that why, then that's the time to reassess it. So I thought, okay, now my life, the market has gone to pot. My real estate, which was my retirement plan, I lost 10 houses and 2 apartment buildings. And yeah, so that was like a good thing. I became an empty nester. I broke up with a fiance. So my whole life changed. My mother passed. So that whole life changed. That now I could say, okay, now what do I want to do? So I wanted to be more flexible. And I realized for me to rebuild my real estate portfolio, I'm going to need to get back into real estate. But I didn't have the bandwidth or the time and the funding to do it alone one by one like I did before when I was really earning that kind of money. So I said, okay, I want to do real estate. That's really the proven long-term retirement. And now I learned a few lessons, so I could do it differently. But I can't do it alone, so I want to syndicate it. But also at that time, I was living alone in a condo for 3 years, and I didn't like it. I liked living in a house. I liked people around me. And I had that with my sons, my kids, and ex-husband and things like that. So I rented a house with some friends, and I loved it. I loved them. We got along, but and it was great having someone there when you got home, or if you're traveling, and having that support and having someone just to communicate with and to network with. But they weren't business people. So I thought this would be really great if it was business women, because we could talk about business, we could have meetings, we could have events, and everybody's into it because it serves all. And that's why I said, I just want to live where I work where I live, anywhere in the world. And I want to be able to do it here, but also if I want to go to France for 6 months, if I want to go to Brazil for 2 months, I'll be able to do it there. And then I started sharing that and realized that a lot of women wanted the same thing. And then also happened to be in the market where that time, the co-working, co-sharing, the Airbnb, the Uber, that sharing economy, and it still is booming. So I said, hey, I can tap into that. But then I'll stay in my niche market, which is with business women, because so far at that time I didn't see anything else that was like that. And then I will do it in luxury homes, because that was our brand, was more luxury. We did our things in yachts and country clubs and really beautiful hotels. So I say, if I stick with that, I'll have that niche, and then that will be, we can syndicate and buy the homes together, because a lot of women were the same thing. A lot of women had lost properties, or through divorce, or through the economy, and they were feeling the same thing. I want to be able to rebuild, but can't do it alone, and I don't want to do it alone. So that's how Homwork was born. It was that combination of a need. I saw the market being ready for it, and I had the community of women that was ready for it, and I had the experience of the real estate. I knew real estate, and again, I had the clientele, the community that could kind of pull into that.
So it sounds like you kind of had the death of one thing, that you saw it was dying, and before you got to the point where, like me, I think I'd gone into a big depression at that point. You almost had an awakening, is what it sounds like.
A reality check.
And the awakening said, not only am I going to have to look at what has passed, I'm going to have to put it in the past. And then what's in my future, and how do I build that? Did you ever have any ideas you rejected?
Yes. And how I rejected them was, again, you can use the phrase, the fastest path to cash. Again, my objective is to be 3 to 5 years. I said, now this business, some of the other business I didn't try selling, I didn't try, just kind of evolved and kept moving. But I said, I need something I can sell, and sell in a 3 to 5 year time period, so that it will give me my retirement. It will give me what I'm looking for to be able to live the rest of my life, should I be so lucky. And so so yes, there's things that I looked at and I said, no, that's not enough. That's not enough. And then some things I looked at and said, that's too labor intensive, or it's too cash, it's too capital intensive. Even though real estate is, but it's a little different because people are actually getting something. They're getting stake in, real estate. So it's a little different when it's going towards something they can kick and touch, of course that. But some things I said it wouldn't work because it was just too much. Or I would need too big of a team, or it would take too long. Where this was relatively, I think I could get one house, start with one house, and work that concept. Now I'm out of the concept stage, I'm actually doing it, and then I'll be able to scale it. So, okay, I can do the membership, that way I can scale. And we also have host properties, so not just our properties, because it would take a while for us to get properties all over the world like we want, but I can use hosts. A lot of women want to use their properties, guest houses, guest rooms, and vacation rentals, and so I can utilize that to scale. So the things I couldn't scale, the things that didn't allow me enough financial reward, or that was too labor or capital intensive, then I had to mix them. And so those are the things that I don't say they're a dying dream. It's something I can do in my retirement. Like when I make all this money and have a successful business that sells, then I can still do them. So I think it's important for people to feel like they don't have to kill that dream, or that dream does not have to die, but they have to prioritize where they are now and what do they need to get to that point.
And maybe put that one on the back burner for a little while.
Exactly.
I almost feel like you had a pro and con checklist. Was that just in your head, or did you have a real one?
I do. What I do is, again, I take these scrap paper. I'm a scrap paper person. And again, I write down what is important to me in my life at that time. And then on that, each page, like one is time, one is travel, one is money, one is social, whatever it is. And so I thought, okay, then I put the different projects under that, and I see which would meet that. I look at, this is a project, will it meet that time? Will it meet that criteria? And if it didn't, I just put it to the side. That's a later one. So it had to be something that was able to, I can be able to fit all that criteria. So it is like you put it out and you just start eliminating things. And some things I just scratch. It says it's cute, but it's not, it's not going to work. It's not going to give me the travel. I wanted to enhance my lifestyle by the people that I was associating with, women that were successful, women that were in business. I wanted to do that. I wanted to be able to do more traveling, which just allows me to do because I'm going to different places to do it and I can justify it from opening different businesses. I wanted to stay connected to women, I wanted to stay connected to business, and I wanted to stay connected to real estate. So, because I knew that was my long-term retirement. So anything else that did not meet that criterion had to go to the side. Now, some things you can take that big picture and do some things under that umbrella, like the podcast or like the videos or the masterminds and things like that. But you had to find out the core that's going to make everything work, and then you can add on to it as you go.
I kind of feel like I just want to go from house to house to house. This sounds like fun. Maybe not even work, just go.
So you got a lot accomplished. You're still able to work. Wasn't it nice to be able to be here and be able to work and you had a meeting and all of that was just it was just that's what.
And you get your synergy. Mm-hmm. You get the synergy from just being with other people.
Exactly.
Have a lot of the same feelings that you do. Tell me, you must have faced adversity someplace in your life. What would you say is the biggest adversity you faced, and how did you get through it?
I think the biggest adversity, and I'm hoping it's not just me, but I feel it's for a lot of business owners, specifically women business owners, specifically minority business owners, and specifically now older minority women business owners, because I literally had a potential investor tell me that these are strikes that I had against me. That investors will be, when I do my investors pitch, that I need to be warned that this is what they're going to be thinking, that, I'm a woman, minority, I'm an African American woman, and I'm an older woman, and I'm not coming from a lot of wealth. If I was someone who had a lot of wealth behind me, then they'd want to put it in the pot. So I think that, even though I present oblivious to that, I do know that it exists. And I do know it was in this decision-making process of some of the people that could have assisted me or supported me in one way or the other. So getting financing. It's like everything, a lot of the business that got out of business was lack of financing. Getting financing is very important for every business. But even more important, what financing represents is that somebody else believes in your project as much as you do. That is worth millions. So someone can give me $10, and that is just as valuable as someone can give me $100,000. I mean, philosophically thinking, because of the fact that it means they believe in me and they're supporting me and they want to help me do well. And
because it seems like a lot of times when you're looking for financial assistance, they don't want to give it to you unless you don't need it.
Exactly, and I think that's the most craziest thing that and I'm sure it's the American way, but that's the craziest thing. And I did do a call one day, and I said, so who do you go to when you need help? Since you're not supposed to be able to, you have to show you can't tell when you need help, and you can't seem desperate. So who do you go to when you are desperate?
What did they say?
They said they didn't give me a good answer. No one gave me a good answer. No.
Because they don't want to answer that question because it would be, it isn't us.
Well, yeah, it is. And the thing is that but women need to be there for each other. We need to be. That's why I think, women, if they had that option, they would be able to do that. Where do we go for help? You see, we go to each other because we understand. We all had cash flow. We all had escrows that didn't close or clients that didn't come through or this and that. And we all know that, and I can see a woman who's going to succeed or who's really trying so hard to succeed. So, yeah. You should be able to see that.
And maybe it was a good idea that you're advised to stay in your niche, because then other women will support you when you have that niche as women. You can find that other people have been through some of the same things you've been through, and that support. Is that really important to have that support throughout this?
It's very important to have that support, but sometimes and it's could be the fault of ourselves that we don't reach out and get that support as much, because again, you still have in your back of your mind, if I want this person as a potential client or if I want a person as a potential investor, do I share with them what's really the real deal? Can I be totally transparent with them without them now making a decision based on that? You have to really discern who is going to be, who's real enough and that understands enough. It's not going to say, oh, she's too close to, shutting down, and I'm not going to give her any money or lend her any money, to know that still that money could just figure back over that hump. You can tell. I can tell a woman that's going to make it because I can tell the ones who consistently try and the ones that consistently, are going like diehards. You can tell that, that. So I think it should be there and it should be, transparent. It should be your support, life support, but sometimes I haven't found it to be so.
What impact do you think all these endeavors have had on you?
Well, good and bad. So the impact has been sometimes you really feel like you're alone and on your own. And it's probably magnified because I'm not married and I haven't been married for years. So sometimes in those thoughts you say, who really does believe in you? Who really does love you? Of course, your family and your friends do, but like who really, really, really is there if you fall? Because if you're in business, you're going to fall. In those moments when you do, who can you really turn to? And and I know that I'm going to come back. I know you've been there enough times, you get through it. But gosh, it would be so comforting to know that someone was there to reach out and touch. And so the impact it had on me is to know that I'm always there for the women. I'm not the person that I understand. I totally understand. And I pull that out because I want them to tell me. Sometimes you just need to talk through. Sometimes I've had women call me and just need to vet. And you need to listen to them. And you need to be able to give them something. Even if it's not, if they need money, if you can't give them a lot, give them something. Or give them a resource, or give them an idea, or give them hope, or give them something. But you just really, 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 really have to give them something. And not just women, men and women and so forth, but again, because that's my industry, and that's what I get the most calls for, and that's what I do, because the impact it had on me is that feeling like I'm alone.
And do you have that person for you?
Mm. Oh.
So that's the hard part, because you're giving to other people because you're recognizing the need, but you don't have it returned. You
Not
don't
really.
have that person that you have spotlighted yet.
No.
And it's probably just a yet.
And it's probably people that probably in their mind and their intentions feel they're there for, but I'm talking about the person that,
the gut level.
That level, the gut level, that you can say, hey, do you have this? And they will find it for you. Like a mother will find milk for her child. A father will find a place, a house, shelter for his family. That type of, and it's hard because sometimes I have people that I know that could, and they know me long enough. They know me, throughout my life, so they know what I've been doing. They know I haven't never quit. They've never, I've never. Some people they could question if I'm a gambler or a drug, or they wonder if I'm alcohol or what I'm doing this or that. But they know me, so it's not a question about knowing who they're dealing with, but they elect not to. I just wonder.
Sometimes I think it's because maybe we're the strong one,
and that's another worse thing. To say, oh, you'll be fine. I know you'll get through this. It's like no.
So they don't realize that you're just as much in need as they are. It's just that you don't portray it as easily maybe as they do, because that might seem more vulnerable than you want it to be. Or do you feel that if you did it, you'd be playing a different role and you wouldn't meet their expectations? Or how?
I think probably what contributes to that is that, some pride, because I think nobody wants, any proud person doesn't want to ask. So the fact is that you have to ask at all, is humbling. But I think that I shouldn't have to ask. My friends, when I know they're going through, they don't have to ask. My kids, I can anticipate. I know by their voice, I know by what's happening. I don't have to ask me. If I even feel it somewhere, I say, how can I support you? Is there anything I can do for you? Do you need anything today? Any way I can support you? Whatever it is. So a real, some people don't have to ask. But then the ones that I feel if I go out on the limb and ask you, then I do it because I trust the fact that you won't judge me because you know who I am. You won't spread the word because that can be damaging, for your business and so forth and reputation. And I know that you won't, that you're doing it because you love me in that way. You love me as a person or a friend, or you appreciate that. And so when I muster up that to ask, then and it's a no, and you know that they could, then just leaves the question like, okay, well, why? Like why? Why? Or why not? And that's not for me to judge, and I realize that too. I'm not here to judge how they spend their money or spend their time. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's money, but sometimes it's time. I need you to do this or that or whatever it is. A need is a need.
Maybe sometimes it's just needing somebody else to listen, and that you would like to vent too. Because we get into the role. I think maybe more women than men, but I'm not sure. But I think we get into the role, a role, whatever that role is. And then it's hard for us to come out of the role as well as other people to perceive that we're in a different role and we're asking for different things. And I'm wondering sometimes if I'm really asking and they're getting that I'm asking, or if maybe I'm not as clear about what I'm making my need known to them.
I definitely feel I can be guilty of that, because especially when I was with an empowered woman, I feel like I'm supposed to be an empowered woman.
So how do I dare show weakness over here? Does that look like a weakness?
Exactly, and that's why in that empowered woman conversation, I would say, that every woman's empowered in one area of their life, and it's not necessarily every area. Like some women are very empowered in their business, but their home life sucks. They can't control their kids or their husband or whatever it is, and vice versa. Or maybe you're empowered as far as your community, but in your own taking care of your own self, you're not empowered. So I've always clarified that every woman has they're empowered in some way, and so which means that you don't have to be empowered in every way. But obviously, that is something that I want to. That's why I wanted to be there for other women, because I wanted to feel they had this martyr to come to. But the people that I would ask, and I did get clearer about the asks. Maybe sometimes I hinted at certain things, or I talked around it, assuming that they're going to kind of come through and ask me. So I've gotten clearer and clearer, in certain situations. Because when I lost my properties, and that was a really, really, really low period, because that was subsidizing empowered women. Because when that was my backup plan, it was my kids' college. Education and everything was dependent on that, on that revenue and those assets. And so I got to get very clear, on what my ask was. And, sometimes, most of the time, and like you said, sometimes it's not just money. Sometimes it's just like, and so I've gotten clear, like I need someone to talk to. I need a friend to talk to. That you can just kind of ramble on. Because even if they gave me a resource, like when I was in that situation, this is what I did. And this is the result. Something I didn't think about or didn't know about. And I'll ask them, and even got to a point where I'll ask, like, what would you do if you needed cash in a flash? What would you do, if you had a situation, a problem child, and not, I say child, but a problem client, so to speak, or what would you do if you were, had tax problems, whatever it is. And I've gotten clearer and clearer on that, but again, sometimes people will say, again, the worst response is that you'll get through it. Your stuff, you've been here before, I know you'll make it through. Because I always say, who knows if that's the straw that breaks that camel's back?
Yeah.
I don't know. And when people commit suicide and things of that type, usually it's that one straw that broke that camel's back.
Just pushed a little too far in that one area.
Exactly. And we're human, so we don't know what our boundaries are. We don't know what's going to just take us over.
Tell me about retirement. Tell me about kind of what you're thinking. Are you thinking, no, I'll never retire?
No.
Or are you thinking, how do you feel about it?
For me, retirement is like having to work for compensation, and not having to work for compensation. So my plan is a 3 to 5 year plan. I feel like I want to really build this business to a point where we are, taken over by a bigger company that has bigger visions or bigger budgets, or more importantly, someone that just really wants our market, wants a women's market that we've cultured, that community that we've cultured. Because that could be very valuable to a lot of these corporations, especially now in the wake of how strong women are in our world right now. So that is my thought for that. And then I want to continue doing podcasts. I want to be able to go around the world. I am curious about every woman's story, like you, but their business story, like what prompted them to their business. And I know even in certain spurts, I would just go into someone's store and there's a woman there, maybe in the cleaners or whatever. And I'm just like curious, like, when did you start this cleaners, and how long have you been doing it? How much do you make? And like, that. So that curiosity I have, and I would love that freedom to be able to go. I had a program called Let's Talk Success. It was a podcast series that we did for 7-figure women. And again, because that 7 figures attracts the 6 and attracts the ones that are starting. So I'd like to do that. So I would still be giving, I'll still be sharing, but I would be able to do it for free.
I think that sounds like fun. Maybe I'll go with you.
Come on. Come on.
I think of my daughter at 48, and what would we tell women today that what life advice could we give to them?
Don't let anyone or anything dim the light that shines within. Because we all have a bright light, and when someone kills our spirit, that's really, really hard to regain that. And I see it. I see it in women's eyes. I see it in the dispositions, people's spirit who's been killed by one thing or another, Been damaged, been destroyed because of somebody or something. So if you got that, you just gotta fight for that. That's what you're fighting for.
And how do we not let that happen to us? How do we protect against it?
As soon as you see it, feel it, or know that it's there, delete it. I have, sometimes I find in their friends, I just recently have made a decision that there's 3 people so far this year, 2019, we're in day 22, 3, whatever day it is, that I'm deleting from my life. I gotta get out of my life totally. And it's not because they're so bad or whatever, they're not positive. And when I read their emails or read their texts, it angsts me as opposed to like, ooh, warm and fuzzy. Maybe because it's something they say, maybe it's something they don't say, and it just doesn't feel good. And I just, for the first time, I've blocked someone that's been a friend for a while, but it's a buddy friend. He's always instigating whether I'm dating someone, like it's not his business and doesn't matter. And they start saying things that are not true, and it's just like, okay, I'm not going to argue with it. I'm not going to defend myself. I don't need to. You're not really bringing anything really relevant to my life besides just being a friend. So I just blocked.
So maybe you just got the negativity
Yeah.
out of your life that there was no reason you had to continue to absorb that negativity.
Right. So just say no. I say no more often. Like, no, I can't, and I don't feel like I need to justify or explain. I used to want to give people a justification why I can't do this. It's like, no, I can't at this time. And people ask you all kinds of things, but if I see that could complicate my life, or it can contribute to the stress and anything that's negative, and then just say no, I can't in the conversation. If they want to ask me why, then I'm sure to share that with them, but most of the time people will stop right there. So if it's somebody you have to say no to a lot, then it means like no to them. So again, then just be, less than a month, I've had to get 3 people that were not impacting my life in a positive manner out.
Well, I think that sounds very brave to do.
You have to do, because sometimes we hang on to people
because
the familiarity is underestimated. Because a lot of things we do, a lot of places we go, a lot of people that we communicate with because we're familiar with them. They've been with us with childhood or for 5 years or 10 years. And as we get older, we know how valuable friendships are. Because these are people that have been seeing you through the thick and thin and the good and the bad and the ugly. So there's a value to that. But if they're not, if it's taking away, if it's chipping away from your happiness and your freedom and your joy, then it just has to, and if they needed me, if something happened, I'm not, dead to them, or they're not dead to me. But I just don't need to communicate with them on a day-to-day basis.
So the visual that comes to my mind is flowers and weeds.
Nice.
And maybe the weeds are the negativity.
Okay.
And the flowers are the positive.
Mm-hmm. So nurture the flowers. You have more time to nurture the flowers. People that are really there for you, that you believe and you love you, and just kind of let go. The other ones, Zombie.
Well, I guess it's nice to be old enough to kind of be able to see back and see some of these things and realize.
But we just hope our daughters and the young people in the world don't have to wait until they get to our age to learn those lessons. They hear it and they can feel free and feel confident enough to do it. Feel brave enough. It's brave because you never know when you're going to need that person. You feel like more people you have in your life, the more.
Do I dare let go?
Exactly. The more anchors you have, but not necessarily. Yeah.
Well, Desiree, it's been just wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much for sharing everything that you did and sharing the impact that these things made on you. So, thanks. I hope you'll come back and we'll talk more. I hope you enjoyed listening to another story of the impact of trailblazers. Visit our website at trailblazersimpact.com and connect with us at hello@trailblazersimpact.com. And remember, you must learn a new way to think before you can master a new way to be.